Oh, Bianca, where do we even start for you? I almost think we need to start from high school. Normally I start from birth, but you have so many tales and such a big story and we've only got 1 hour.
Okay.
So let's start from year 9. Exact.
Okay, well, year 9 was my last year of high school. So I have a year 9 pass. And school was pretty good for me. Like I feel like a lot of people kind of have similar tales about like I'd struggled to like learn in like that sort of structured way. Very good at sport, very disruptive. You know, that was sort of like my way of being. And I was smoking a little bit of weed in school and that sort of thing. And like just to dive right into it, I was a little bit like in the head a little bit. I just had a little bit of mental health issues and that sort of stuff from a very young age. So from about year 9, I was starting to deal with a lot of them. I was struggling to keep up in school. I was struggling to learn, and my parents were going through their divorce. And that's when things were starting to like get a little bit disruptive for me. But I liked sport. Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I just stopped going. And around year 9, I was just having problems at home and I couldn't really keep up. And I stopped going for a little while before it was really noticed, to be honest.
Like
and
wagging?
I just wouldn't go. I just wasn't going. I wasn't even wagging. Like I just wasn't going, wasn't making the effort to even try. You know, my parents were like, hey, we need to work. So I started doing like casual jobs, Boost Juice, Gloria Jeans, that sort of thing. And then I did attempt to go back for a year 10 pass in TAFE, but I didn't last. So that was really my school history.
Do you feel like you fell between the cracks because your parents were getting divorced so you could kind of play them off?
I think a little bit of that. I also had my brother was going through his own little journey as well with his sort of stuff, and there was a lot of factors going on. But yeah, I don't really know. I actually don't really know how it all happened. I just stopped going and then I just never went back. It was just, I just remember feeling very stupid in school. Mm-hmm. But no, I knew I wasn't, but I just struggled to learn a lot. Yeah. The stereotypical way, I guess. Yeah.
So you start working these casual jobs. Who were you hanging out with? Like, did you have friends?
So I did have friends, and I had a boyfriend up until I was just about 18, and I was best friends with his younger brother, and I'd kind of hang out with them. They were sort of like the rough group of people that sort of we grew up with, but they were my friends. And then when he left school, I kind of lost interest in school as well. I was a bit of a floater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really in a group. I was a floater, definitely. I just float around from group to group.
Yeah. So you had tried weed by that stage?
I was smoking weed by this point, smoking weed and smoking cigarettes.
How are you affording, you got your casual jobs?
Well, no, so we would sell cigarettes at school. That was like our little hustle business. Like you get a pack of Horizon 40s for $14 and sell them $1 a cig.
Okay, so you're making money. All right. Yeah. When do you start doing substances?
So I didn't start doing substances for a while. Someone in my family was a heavy drug addict, and I witnessed that, and I was very against it. So I was like, I'm never going to do drugs. I'll smoke weed. But I was like very anti-drug for a long time. And then it wasn't until I was 17. So I was well and truly out of school by this point, and I was partying every weekend at a club in Melbourne. I'm from Melbourne originally. And I was going there every single weekend to the point where they were like, you know, you could work here. So I basically started working at a nightclub when I was 17. I started dating the bar manager who was 11 years older than me, and he is my entry point to drugs. So the first time I did ecstasy was with him. I started dating him. I started working at the nightclubs, and then I was doing cocaine every Sunday. I was dropping pills and that sort of thing. And at the time, I just thought it was fun, and I was just mature for my age, and I was just hanging out with older people, and you know the drill.
We all have the same genesis story, which is older. Mine was the exact same. My boyfriend was 12 years older than me, and then we were doing bags on Tuesday night and then bags on Wednesday night, and it was just like, oh, he's so crazy and fun.
Yeah, literally, that's how it was. And I was just like, I'm just so mature for my age. Like I can hang out with older people, and it's a bit fucking weird if you think about it now that I'm an adult. Now I'm 33. I'm like,
Did it get to a point in that relationship where you were like, we're not doing the normal things, like we're not, or were you like still going out for dates and acting sort of like
No, I wouldn't
older?
say that relationship was normal. It was like I was kicked out of home, so I needed somewhere to live. And I was going back and forth from that nightclub to, you know, staying at friends' places, sometimes at my mum's, but then, you know, I'd get kicked out. There was a lot of beef going on in my house. I was very dysregulated. I was a self-harmer from a very young age, couldn't really emotionally regulate at all, and just always felt like my emotions were just too big for me to encompass. And that's just been like a regularity throughout my whole life up until now as well. And I found when I started taking drugs and things, it was like a reprieve. Mm-hmm. But with him, though, it wasn't a normal dating thing. And I was drinking a lot. I think it was like, well, now that you look at it, the facts are the facts, a bit predatory. At the time, I thought he really loved me. But like, how can you love a child? But no, it wasn't like any sort of typical dating or anything like that. It was very circumstantial. So I got really drunk at the club one night and made out with a guy in front of him. And he said, go home. And I was kicked out of home at this point. And the next day he's like, you can live with me, but you have to be my girlfriend. And at that point it was very much like, that's a no-brainer to survive. I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
So I stayed with him for about 6 months. And, it was grim. I just remember like pretending to be asleep so I wouldn't have to fuck him. Like just, you know, like tiptoeing around. And one day I just woke up and I was like, what are you doing? Go home. So I went back to my mum's. And that's when I stopped in that scene. But I was already pretty much like...
You're like hooked now.
I was just had seen a lot more things than most people had. And then that was kind of my segue into smoking ice in a way, because I was just looking for something at all times. And then a family member is actually the first person that ever gave me my first pipe. And I was, I think I was 18, just 18 at that point. So that's when I first kind of fell into it. And that would have been about 2010.
How did it make you feel?
Euphoric, free. Like, I remember being like, is this going to kill me? Like, I was such a paranoid person. Like, I always thought I'd have a heart attack. I'm always checking my pulse. I'm like, is this going to kill me? Like, what's it going to be like? They're like, no, it's fine. Trust me, you'll like it. It's all good. And I think they were quite early into their addiction too, so they weren't. Well, I know what it's like. I've given people their first pipe before. Like, if I'm being perfectly honest, like, you kind of want people to be in it with you in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not malicious. You don't really have a moral compass when you're addicted to drugs. Mm-hmm. But I just remember feeling really light and just like powerful and just euphoric. I just had no worries. Just felt good.
See, I would be getting on that like daily if that's how it made me feel.
Yeah.
When did it start going south for you?
So it didn't really start going south for a while, but I was using it every weekend. So I was working in clubs and bars. I started working in clubs and bars since 17 and I stayed in that industry. And I'd be like going to Eve nightclub on the weekend, and then me and friends would be going up to this like apartment with these like 40, 50-year-old men and smoking their drugs, thinking we're all friends, you know, like. And I was such a tomboy then that I was like, no, they don't want to fuck me. They just want to be my friend. They really care about me. I'm just so mature for my age, you know. And I started smoking every weekend. But like in my personal life, I was also very unhappy. I had like pretty heavy depression. I was massive self-harmer. My home life was very disrupted. So I really found like reprieve in that little weekend ritual that I was doing. And I had a boyfriend at the time and he was coming with me, and then, you know, we're staying at his place, and I wouldn't look at that moment in our lives like we were addicts or anything. We're just like casually using a little bit, you know, just like a little burn, sitting around with people that were obvious addicts. Mm-hmm. And it was very casual like that, up until I separated from the guy that I was dating. So the guy that I was dating, I'd always kind of like latch onto them and latch onto their family life and kind of just like mingle my way into it, because I would date people with quite typical family lives, and it was very different to what I was going through. So I just enjoyed being around it. And sometimes I'm like, am I in love with them or am I in love with the lifestyle that they give me, sort of thing. But then we broke up. So when we broke up, it kind of just like threw me back into my home life. At this point, I was working at Goldfinger's Gentlemen's Club as the dance manager. Yeah. So I was probably 19 at this point, and I was managing a strip club with about 120 women working for me. High pressure. It was very ironic that I was doing that job. I'd never done any sex work in my life. And, you know, it's quite hard to be respected by girls when you're so much younger doing that job. But it was good. I loved it. And I was still smoking ice in the weekend, but like it wasn't really interfering with my life up until I broke up with that guy. And then one night I was actually just sitting in my bedroom like severely depressed, very unhappy, and a bit concerned about sitting by myself, and I just wanted someone around me. So I just went on Facebook and saw who was online, and there was this guy online, and I was like, hi, do you want to come hang out with me?
Bianca.
I know. But I was like, just felt really, didn't want to be on my own. I didn't know what to do. Didn't really know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he came over, and I was like, that was the first time I've ever invited a guy over. I didn't know what to do. We're sitting in my room, like, do we have sex? He's like, if you want to. I was like, okay. Like, I don't know. Like, is that this is what we need to do? We're kind of sitting there, and, you know, I didn't realize that he was going through his own crisis as well, which I'll get into. But we were sitting in my bedroom, and he pulled out a crack pipe in my room. And I just remember looking at it and thinking, is this actually happening? Am I actually going to do this? And I did. And we smoked, and like obviously you bond when you're high on ice with whoever you're doing it with. And I thought we had a connection. He recognized that I was unhappy, and he did the whole, let me save you, come stay with me, come move in with me and my family that night. And it was like, I'm being rescued, I'm being saved, like, you know. And I went with him, and I moved in with him and his family. And
what did they say, by the way?
He literally walked in and said, this is Bianca and she's living with us. And they said, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It was pretty extreme like that. It was very intense, and they were like the loveliest family as well. Very, very good, very loving family. And they took me in with open arms. They could see that I was very troubled, and they kind of took me under their wing. But on the other side of that, we were getting more and more addicted to ice. It went from me every weekend to daily smoking with this man. And then there was like all these other elements that came in. It turned out he was a bikie that got kicked out on bad standing for smoking ice, and it was all very fresh. So if you know anything about that, you don't just leave them. There's a lot of entanglement, and I just realised that I just gotten myself completely entangled in all of this as well. So it was just like all of a sudden I was just in really deep. And I didn't really see like a way out, and I didn't want to. I was like, I'm so in love. I was like, you and me against the world, Bonnie and Clyde, like, you know, and just smoking more and more ice. And then, you know, it was all pretty good up until we moved into our own place. But it was still like, it was like me and him, you know. But then he turned on me. So basically one day we were like staying at our place. And he's like, Bianca, get up. You need to wake up and leave. And I'm like, why? He's like, they're coming. You've got to leave. And I was like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave you. He's like, you've got to go. Like, it's not safe. So eventually, like, I left. I was asleep on the couch. I went up the street and just waited it out. It was fucking terrifying. I thought they were going to kill him. I didn't really know what was going on. Anyway, I came back home, and he was just in our backyard on the ground, just had the shit kicked out of him. And it was like, in that moment, that broke him. And yeah, it was, everything changed after that. The ice use got like way more vicious, and he became vicious, and he was like severely abusive to me from that point on.
Like physically?
Physically, yeah. To himself and to me. And because we had this time before that where it wasn't like that, I really struggled to separate it. And I was also heavily addicted to ice as well at this point. So there was like just a few factors in another where it just gave me like, I was just so entangled.
How much were you guys paying together for ice?
So we were smoking at one point like an 8-ball a day. We were not sleeping for like 5 days, 6 days, and then would go into like a state of psychosis, start seeing things, start hearing things. I remember one time I thought there was like a shield on my eyeball, and I got like an earbud and just like swiped my eye because I thought there was like something on it. You'd see like, it was almost like entities in the corner of your house like coming towards you. Like, it was fucking crazy. Like, and on top of that as well, like the paranoia of the drug, we also had the paranoia of this bike club. We had cameras all around our house, and would sit there and would just smoke ice and watch the cameras. And there is a good chunk of my life where I don't know if it really happened or if it was psychosis.
Wow.
Like I still to this day do not know. Like, I remember sometimes he'd be screaming out the front door at people at like 2 a.m, being like, there's people there, and I don't know. Like, I still don't know. Like, he told me like sometimes he'd get kidnapped and things would happen, and I still don't know if that's true or if that's a lie or if that's imagination. Like, I don't know. And it really got me in like a really bad frame of mind because I had no grasp of reality.
Yeah.
My reality was him, and he was also my abuser. And also, like, I just had no idea what the fuck was going on, like, most of the time.
How long did this last for?
This was like Maybe like 2 years.
2 years?
Maybe like 1.5 years to 2 years, yeah. All together with him. And that, yeah.
How do you hold down a job when you're seeing entities in your house?
I didn't. I wasn't working. I did not work. We just sat at home. I think he had some money and we sold things like, when you're selling your electronics and all that sort of stuff, your old speakers, your old stereos. Yeah, I don't really know how we kept up with it. I did try and get jobs every now and then, but they wouldn't last.
Yeah.
He did sell my car and I came home and there was $15,000 worth of ice on the table. And that was the first time I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Because he just looked at me. He's like, Bianca, don't worry. I'm going to make it back. I'm going to double it. And I just remember looking at him thinking, fuck, this is crazy. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. Like, I'm in too deep. And I loved it. I loved smoking the pipe. I loved the actual smoking of it, the twirling of it, watching the smoke, blowing it out. I was like heavily addicted and like heavily reliant on someone. And it was just wow.
How... Because this is part one of your story. I'm like, how do you get out of this relationship?
Well, so what would happen is about every 3 days after we'd smoke, he would get he'd go into like a psychotic fit and he would hurt himself and then he'd beat me up. And like it was violent and it was vicious and it was relentless and it was so fucking scary because it's like a demon was in him. And that would happen every single time without fail. So I was starting to get onto this pattern that I'm going to cop it every single time. Like every time I came home and I saw because I would never initiate, but I would go along with it. But every time I'd come home and see like a bag of ice, even if it was a point or more, I would just be like, dread. I'm like, I know exactly how this is going to go. Like, and I'd still do it anyway. Like you could not put me in a room with that and me not do it. It was like literally impossible. But it got to the point where I just saw it happening nonstop. His parents were really helping him. I can't, that whole time of my life is a little bit blurry, but I can't remember if they were helping because they knew that he had an addiction or they just thought he was depressed. I'm pretty sure it's because they thought he was just really depressed. His mum was coming over every day, giving him money, making us food. And the way that she was loving her like him was breaking my heart of what we were doing with the money. I was like, I would just kill for this sort of devotion. Like it was like he was a mess and she'd just show up every day. She'd drive 45 minutes, bring him a greens juice, bring him all this stuff and taught me how to cook, taught me how to clean, taught me how to do all this stuff. And I'm like, we're spending her money on drugs. Mm-hmm. And I'm just getting I lost all my friends. I was just so unwell and I was just copying it. He was so violent. One day we were just sitting in the front room of the house smoking. And I texted his mum and I said, don't park in the driveway. I've left the front door open. Just come inside and bring his dad.
So you wanted to catch him out?
We need to be caught, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I didn't know what else to do. And I remember seeing him he was 8 years older than me. I was very young and I remember just looking at him and he was standing in the kitchen holding a plate and he just dropped it. He was losing function of his body and I was like, this is killing him. Mm-hmm. And I cared about him more than me at this point. So I was like, oh, I need to help him. I was copying it, but I was like, him. So anyway, his parents came and they just walked in the front door. We were smoking pipes and I just got up and ran. Because he just looked at me and I just knew and he went to get up and chase me and I just ran into the garage and locked myself in there for 3 hours while they restrained him. It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Was that the last you saw of him?
No, we stayed together. We got clean for 6 weeks and our relationship was really good, but then relapsed again. Mm-hmm. And at this point I was really locked in on overcoming this. It's I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. You cannot do this anymore. And every time I'd come home, if I go somewhere, because I would get jobs for a long period when I was really on it, I couldn't work, couldn't do anything. But then when we started getting clean and started trying, I did start getting work. Mm-hmm. I couldn't hold down a job. I would literally fall asleep at the desk. I could not stay awake when I was recovering from it. Yeah. But I'd come home and there'd be ice on the table and I'd just be like, oh. And it just got to the point where it was I could recognize that for me to get clean, I need to leave this environment. Mm-hmm. And I also had the help of the job that I got. They really helped me. They stepped up. I just told them, I was like, I'm trying to leave a domestic violent relationship and I'm recovering from ICE. And they didn't fire me. I had 90 days off in a year. I could not get out of bed. Yeah. And they didn't fire me. So that really held me down. But I stayed with him for a while, like a long time. I feel like it was easier for me to get off it because I was leaving an environment that was so volatile. So like they were kind of intertwined, and when I removed one, the other wasn't as accessible.
Yeah.
It was like steps on steps on steps. Like I remember like I would get to the point where I was like, oh, I just don't want to live anymore because how can I do this? I don't really see an out.
You can sit here and tell me that story, but truly, how does that feel to say that you just wanted to out? You just wanted to die? Does it feel like another version of you that you're disconnected, or do you feel in tune with her still?
There's an element of disconnection that I have from this part of my life. I can talk about it very matter of fact. And then there's times where I'll reflect. When I was like, before I came in here, I was kind of relaying stories a little bit, trying to remember it. I was in tears.
Yeah.
But then there's some times where I can talk about it. It's so matter of fact. And I feel almost completely disconnected from that part of my life. But that was scary. I mean, like I'd managed to make some friends. Everyone in my area and I grew up were all smoking ice. This is not like a unique story. Everyone in the southeastern suburbs was on it in some capacity. And I made some friends with people that were doing it as well. And this was a time where I was trying to like separate myself from him. And I mean, he loved it when I left him alone so he could smoke all the drugs. Like he would always be trying to find ways for me to go do something so he could smoke the stash. And like it was very controlled how I would smoke. So I was addicted, but he'd also be like, you can have this now. You're allowed to have this now. So I was like, just like waiting on his approval as well. So there's a lot of control. But I made these friends and one day like he just like skitzed it at me again, had a black eye, and I was just so done. So I just went to my friend's house and I'd never done GHB before.
Oh, yeah.
What's the word where you like blow out?
Yeah, blow out.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if you can do too much. You can.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just went to their house and I'd never done it. I just plunged the whole thing and I just didn't want to be alive. So I just took it. I didn't even think. It was so impulsive. Like I did not even think about it. I just pulled it and I remember thinking, what are you doing? And I just like smacked it back. And then I remember blowing out a little bit and then I woke up on the bathroom floor like the next day and everyone had left. It was just me there. And I was like, okay. And I just got on with it. It was like, no, it didn't even happen.
Bianca, that's pretty traumatizing.
It's pretty turbo, yeah.
What, no one stayed to help you?
No, they left. They were all junkies. Everyone was a drug addict.
So from there, do you now get on G? Or
No, that was just, honestly, it was a once-off to try and like, it wasn't for any sort of recreational reprieve. I was trying to like not be awake.
There's an element to your story that we haven't touched on yet, which is sex work.
Yeah.
When did you get involved with that throughout your story? Like what age?
So actually my affiliation with drug addiction and sex work are completely separate.
Completely now, this separate. Is what I want to, this is what I want to chat on because I think the misconception that society has is that all sex workers are heavily drugged up. I mean, the two that I've interviewed prior have kind of cemented that stereotype a little bit, obviously being on this podcast. So you're saying you always kept the two separate?
Yeah. So I was working in the strip club. They fired me because I became a drug addict, obviously. And then I was just drinking heavily. When I was getting off the pipe, it was like a long process. I relapsed over and over after I'd left him, like constantly, until one day I just, swapped it with alcohol and then I just became like a mad drunk pretty much.
And it's socially acceptable.
Yeah. And then trying to just fast track this story a little bit, I was really heavily drinking and to the point where I was just like, I had a DUI, I was getting arrested, I was getting in fights, I was, just trying to like swap one addiction to another. I didn't want to deal with what was going on. And it got to the point where I was like just out of control and arguably like worse in some ways when you're drinking because it's so accessible and I was just such a fucking riot and a liability and shit was just going wrong. In the time I was working in Melbourne, I was doing naked massage, which was not a brothel license. So it's think stripping and a massage in one. So you're doing
stripping and a massage in one.
So you're doing body rubs. There's no genital touching, no kissing, no finishing, anything like that. And I was doing that on the weekend.
Okay. And are you naked too?
Yeah.
So you're naked and you just rub, but not past here, basically.
No. So they have a towel over their front and back. I'm fully naked, just rubbing my body on them like a body glide.
Right.
But there's like no sexual, no intimacy or anything like that. And that was my like stairway into sex work. One of the girls that used to work for me at the strip club was like, come and do this, because I was like, I need extra money. I think I did a Facebook post being like, I need something on the weekends. She's like, come do this. So that's when I started doing it. And actually that was like the first time that I felt empowered. So I had a very, be careful how I word this, but in many ways it saved my relationship with myself, and I had power over men who had completely taken away my power. So I loved that feeling. It was very like, that relationship really did a number on me, and I was just terrified. And that wasn't the only violence that I've had from men. But I was just like, when I was in that scenario, I was like, wow, I'm so powerful. And I was dead sober the whole time doing it. It was like a day like in Wanturna, like a 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. massage place. Like you go there, like a little massage shop. There's no drinking. There's no anything like that. You're just working sober. And I'd always worked sober. And I loved how it made me feel sober. I was so empowered, so on my shit. I was like a bad bitch. I was in control. I was like powerful. I didn't need drugs or alcohol to do that. Wow. It actually alleviated my need for drugs and alcohol.
Wow.
With that feeling. But I was still drunk in my day-to-day life. So basically one day I just like put all my stuff in a bus and I came to Sydney. I left my car in Melbourne because I was just drunk, had an interlocking, I kept blowing over. I just got my push bike, packed a bag, and I came to Sydney.
I love this story.
Yeah.
I was watching you on your TikTok because it's so funny, because it's the mind of an addict. So you're like, I can't bring my car up because I keep blowing over. So you had a blow thing in your
yeah.
So you're like, I'll bring my push bike. Like it's the mind of an addict. No one else would think like that. So you bring like a backpack of things and a push bike to Sydney.
Yeah.
And what's the agenda? You're just going to start again.
Well, I applied for a job and I got one in an office doing what I was doing before. But I was like, I'm just going to work. I'm going to move into a share house. And I started doing that. I was fucking miserable. I was like 2 weeks and I was like, I can't do this. I'm just going to go back to massage. And that's when I started doing full service, because everything in Sydney is brothel licensed. So it's all with a mandatory happy ending.
Mandatory?
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's like the law. You have to give.
That's part of the service. It's a happy ending, babe. We've got to give them that happy ending.
I've never heard of this. It's like mandatory that you have to give a happy ending.
Yeah. It's part of the service.
Do you have to be naked too? You can wear whatever.
Well, yeah, you'd get naked. It's a naked massage. It's an erotic massage.
So you must have been shook.
I was shook when I had to give him a hand job for the first time. Like, when's the last time you've given a hand job to completion, babe?
Years.
Like
7 years.
Yeah. So I did that. And then it was when COVID hit. That's when I started going private. And I was getting more sober and sober at this time. I mean, one could argue that I was swapping alcohol for having a lot of sex.
Yes.
Like that was giving me dopamine. I was working 4 days a week at a brothel and I was having a lot of sex. And I was feeling so empowered. I was fit. I was healthy. There was no alcohol or drugs. I never wanted to do drugs with clients. I never wanted to party with them. I actually hated it because, one, they get coke dick, and I don't want to be touched when I'm on drugs. And it just took away from the joy that I would get from doing this job, like the power. So drugs, alcohol and sex work have always been very separate for me. I've never really mixed them. And maybe that's because I came into sex work a little bit later in life as well. I'm 33. I started full service when I was like 26 or 27. When I was younger, maybe it would have been easier. And it is, because they throw money at you. They're like, you want to party. When I first started doing private, when COVID hit, I would do party bookings, I'd call it. And there'd probably be like 4 guys and like 5 girls, and there's cocaine going around. I was getting to the point where I was just blowing the cocaine on the ground because I couldn't bear to do it with these people, and I just hated the jobs. But the benefit of these jobs and why it is appealing to girls is because they extend. They go for long. You could do like a 7-hour booking.
Yeah.
You can make a fat stack of cash, but then you're coming down for days and you feel absolutely rattled. So for me, it was just like I never really fell into that. And it's interesting because a lot of people will have that misconception that they're together. If they say, I used to be a drug addict and I'm a sex worker, they're like, oh, well, that's...
The two go hand in hand.
Yeah. But actually it was very separate. And I mean, in a way, maybe like the fact that I do have a trauma, I don't feel like anyone that has, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like most people that have a very healthy upbringing in life would walk into sex work and be like, this is what I want to do. There's an element of dysregulation about a person that would want them to do that. But I don't think that they're necessarily always combined.
No, and that's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation with you today, to kind of break down that misconception. It sounds like you are an addict to dopamine, to like feeling good, regardless. Something that we have in common, unfortunately, is eating disorders.
Yes.
So I had a beautiful therapist on and she said, Jules, your OG addiction, it sounds like, would be sugar, and then you just swapped it to alcohol, and then you swapped it to cocaine, and now I'm back on sugar. So I've actually just been hypnotized heavily to try and give up. I'm addicted to sugar. Yeah. Where does your eating disorder pop up throughout your life, or do you think that has that been with you since like you can remember?
So my eating disorder was definitely the OG. Yes.
Textbook.
It was, I would just get bags of cookies and I just smash them back. Ice cream, I'd eat it all. And I was like, you know, so young, it would just like go through me. And then I still got a bit older, and then I would combine binge eating with bulimia, and I was doing that, and I was always struggling my weight and always very sporty, but like I was bulimic and I was binge eating. That was my OG. And it was when I started doing ice that I stopped doing that. And I remember loving it. I was like, and this sounds fucked, but I was like, if I knew I was going to smoke ice, I wouldn't eat all day because I'd feel like I was wasting the ice.
Yeah.
And if I did eat and I got ice, I'd feel like I wasted the ice. Like this is, you know, and that was very much. And then when I got clean from ice, eating came back in.
Yes.
Heavy eating, heavy binge
Sugar.
eating. And it was only like that, and that's been my whole life, like 20 years. Definitely. So I do see like the correlation between that 100%. It's
and do you know what's so sad? Vanessa was saying you never recover from food addiction. You can never recover. We can have those thoughts and learn to switch them, but it's something that will stay with us for life. Like alcohol, and it's hard because we still have to eat.
Yeah.
You know? Going back to your story, so you work as a full service sex worker, how many days a week?
Now?
Well, back then, I think
I
you
was doing
said
4 days a week.
4. And is that like normal across the industry or?
Normal across the industry is not really a normal across the industry. That is for an establishment, 4 days you'd probably want to be working. Private is very different. It really depends on what your money goals are and that sort of thing. Honestly, my work ethic needs improvement.
So,
but like with private, you could do like, you set a money goal, for example. Like how I would work is you set a money goal and then you want to hit that, however many hours it takes.
Yeah.
Generally 5 to 6 hours a week.
5 to 6 hours a week?
Yeah.
That's how much you work?
You could, yeah.
And is that
that's the in-person work. That's not including like the other sides of things. A lot of girls will probably have OnlyFans going on as well, or other things like that. And then like there's girls out there that are probably doing 10 hours around that, which is a lot. That's like 2 hours a day because it is quite taxing on the body.
Totally.
Definitely. And it's like a bit of an energetic sucker if you don't have good rituals around that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask, since you were shocked about doing the full happy ending, what was it like to first sleep with your first client?
I just looked at it like less work, to be honest.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. It just was just a no-brainer.
So you're doing the full service sex work. You're in Sydney. Are you still addicted to alcohol? Like drinking heavily?
I wasn't drinking. I was starting to not drink as much because I didn't know anyone, and then I swapped it to weed.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, you love feeling good.
Yeah.
So describe that to me. What is that? Is that a daily habit?
Not now. I would say I'm now at a point where I'm actually not addicted to anything right now, but that comes with other things. Like there is a lot of emotional stuff that's coming up for me from years of repression that I'm dealing with now, and that's probably like, it's very difficult. I can't lie. But the weed was good, but it would really trigger the eating disorder.
Yes.
So it was like I was kind of always managing some sort of addiction and disorder and like trying to have one with the other and like the right recipe. A lot of my energy went into being able to use something, a lot of substance. Whereas now I kind of have gotten out of that and the binge cycle. I used Monjero.
Yeah. That stops the food noise, hey, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I used. I was on it for 8 months and it got rid of the food noise and it gave me enough time to like get a routine going on. But I think like the coffin, like the nail in the coffin for me for overcoming the eating disorder was recently I got pregnant and had an ectopic pregnancy and I kind of just look at my body very differently now. So I just
don't. You worship it?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. It's more of a conscious thing. If I'm piling food in myself, I can kind of like clock that. But like I said, there's emotional shit that's coming up now because I'm not, that is just a lot to deal with. Because like, I don't know, like you'd understand like when you are using, like you're running away from something.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not until now in my, 2 or 3 years of sobriety, things are starting to come up from childhood that I obviously feel safe in my surroundings, that they're like coming back. And I'm like, damn. It's not making me want to drink, everyone, but like I can understand why I drank so heavily. your pregnancy, that would still, even if it's wanted or not, there's still grief there.
Yeah.
And that would make someone who has been through the same thing, would make you want to turn to a substance, would make you want to suppress the feelings that come up. How has it made you think about starting to binge eat again or anything?
The first week I got out of hospital, I did binge. I put my body through it, and I probably hindered the recovery a little bit. I couldn't feel because I was on endo and I was eating a lot. And if you have the operation on your stomach, it's not good to do that. And that 1 week I really did. I went hard. Mm-hmm. And then when I kind of came out of the bubble, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing, babe? Yeah, the ectopic pregnancy thing that one's still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
After it though, I just remember feeling when I was pregnant, I felt so sure. I just felt like a creator. I'm here to create life, and I'm strong and I'm powerful and I'm capable as fuck. That's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And then, and I was going to have the abortion anyway, but I remember struggling with it, and I was like, wow, I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. I felt very empowered and very certain. And then when it went ectopic, and that whole experience kind of took away all of those empowered feelings I have, and I just felt very broken. I felt like my body failed. I felt like, I just felt like I failed to be a woman.
Oh, B.
And I felt like I was really a woman when I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And that just rocked me. And I did turn to binge eating for that massively. And I shut down and I shut people out. And I just turned very, it was pretty dark. But I managed to lean on people a lot and talk about it a bit more, kind of recognize that it was actually a beautiful window into what I want to feel one day, and made me want to nurture my body 10 times, 100 times more than I ever had, and appreciate my body and appreciate my tits and appreciate my stomach and all these things, so it was, in a way, I think it was a kind of a blessing.
No.
Yeah.
It's not in a way. I think that was exactly what it was. The soul contract would have been to come down and to teach you.
Oh, you're into soul contracts? Babe. Okay, yes. I was go back.
The soul contract would have been, and we're going to lose so many listeners now, but
here we go.
It would have been to come down and teach you that lesson, especially after you suffering for 33 years.
Yeah.
Now, we've got about 10 to 15 minutes left, and I follow you on TikTok, and there's so many videos that I'm like, I want to ask her about that. You went to Bali, and was it some retreat? How did you get into this cult? Can we just switch gears and talk about that for a minute?
Right, let's talk about the sex cult. So I'd moved to Palm Beach in Gold Coast, and that was because I was just eating disorder out of control. I just got rhinoplasty, couldn't recognize my face. I was having a fucking terrible time looking in the mirror, and I was binging. So I was like, I'm going to move states, which is a very addict mindset.
Yeah.
When shit's going wrong, let me just move states and everything will be better. But everything wasn't better, and I was very isolated, and it just got worse. So I was like, okay, what can I do? I'm going to go to Bali, and I looked in detox retreat,
I would do
most
this exact
extreme
same thing. Yeah.
And I found something called a Panchakarma detox, which is a part of Ayurveda, and it's about detoxing your body on a cellular level, and it's got 5 stages, and it's bloodletting, purging, enemas, sweating, all these sorts of things, and it goes for 7 to 28 days is the cap. I was like, I'm going to do 21 days. I saw weight loss, and I was like, tick, I'm doing it. I didn't read anything about it. I had no idea what I was doing. And I went there and I did this life-changing retreat. It's called One World in Ubud, and it was fucking phenomenal. It's what introduced me to yoga, and it did detox my body, and it was very intense. But I mean, you've got eating disorder, so doing a massive detox is probably not sustainable. Mm-hmm. It's not. But anyway, I left there feeling so spiritual. I was like, I can see auras. I can see energy in my hand. I'm so fucking aligned. I went and did a Tibetan sound bowl thing. I kid you not, I could see energy swirls in my hand. I was like, oh, I'm a yogi. I'm gonna sell all my stuff. I'm gonna sell all my designer, and I'm gonna hug trees 24/7. That's where I was at with this. And then I was like, I really want to do tantra. I want to experience tantra. So I was on this this Ubud group, and Ubud's full of there's amazing people, but there's a bunch of cookers there as well. There are some weird people there. And I went and I found this group, and it was tantra. Come do a tantra class, learn and it was yoni massage and lingam massage, which is vagina worship, and penis, but it's a tantric way. So it's not like for pleasure. It's more for like energetic release and like opening up your chakras and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, slay.
Fucking sign me
I'm
up,
like,
to
the
be
fact that I'm
honest.
seeing this means I'm aligned. Like, this is what I'm meant to be doing, right? So I was like, didn't ask any questions. Not one. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And it was like, it said it was a beginner course. So I got in like this little go-get all the way out into like the jungle in Ubud. I go to this place, I walk in, it's just like all these Russians. No one was speaking English and they all clearly knew each other and they were very like sexual and intimate. And I was like, where the fuck am I? Like, I had like $1,500 Australian to pay for the course. And I walked in and I was just like, because I was so spiritual and aligned at this point, I actually felt in my body like leave. And I was like, oh, no, I'm just being paranoid. Like, finish what you started, Bianca. Like, you're such a quitter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just out-talked my intuition, like, standard. And I sat down and I stayed. And then this Indian man comes in with this Russian woman and he was, like, the facilitator of it and his girlfriend. And we sat in this circle and everyone was taking notes and he just started, like, preaching all of this stuff. And the whole time he was just locked on me, like, looking at me, no one else. And so was his girlfriend. And I thought he was trying to intimidate me, so I was looking back. Like, you know, I was like, you can look at me, I'll look at you. Like, bitch, like what? Anyway, so, idiot. And then he's saying all this stuff. He's preaching stuff like, babe, he even preached to the point, he's like, when you're doing these massages, it's actually impossible to rape a woman.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's so very cult-like.
Yeah, it's very impossible. It's impossible to rape a woman. If you enter her, that means some part of her wants it, but the sexual shame of modern society is where she regrets it afterwards. You can't physically enter a woman that doesn't want to be penetrated. And he said that, and I'm like looking around, everyone's writing notes. Like, everyone's writing, no one's like, and there were women in there too. And I was like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? And I just felt like this feeling over my body of just like absolute dread. And they were just preaching all of this stuff about sex. Like, if you're a man, you have to make sure she consents in writing, because if she changes her mind after, like, you're going to get in trouble. Like, it was very odd. Anyway, we went to lunch and I went and sat with all the Russians at lunch and I just went and I threw up. Like, I was so sick. Something was like, my body was like weird. Anyway, we go back in there. He plays music and he's like, everyone dance. And so I'm like, okay, a static dance, I can get around this. I was like thinking, maybe I'll just do one day and if it's weird, I just won't come back. But, I'll just keep trying. Like, maybe I misheard him saying that you can like sexually assault women. Especially
if everyone else was cool with it. You're like, oh, maybe it's a me thing. Yeah.
So anyway, he comes back, he's like, everyone dance. So we're dancing. He's like, now partner up. And he's like, more sexual. And everyone's like humping. Women are having orgasms, like fully clothed. And I'm just like, what the actual fuck? So anyway, they partner us up with someone and then they're like, okay, now you need to do naked massage. So I was like, oh, fuck, okay. So I did the guy first and I'm walking around and I'm like he's like, now come through the body and feel the energy chakras into their sacral chakra. And, and I'm like, I'm literally just doing these ones. I don't know what I'm doing. He doesn't come over and assist me at all. And I'm the only one there that hadn't. It turns out that these group of people have been following him around for 3 years everywhere. And they're all, it's like a cult.
Hence why he was locked into you. He's like, yeah.
So I do the guy first. I'm touching him to know what I'm doing. And then it's my turn. And when it's my turn, then suddenly he gets everyone to come up. I'm naked on this bed with a sarong over me. They stand all around me. And he's like, okay, I saw you guys doing something incorrect, so I'm going to demonstrate on me. Like, the only person that needed to see. And I was like, oh my fucking God, what is going on? Like, I was actually so scared, but I just also have an ability to switch out of my body. Like, I've just used my body's been used as an instrument with abuse and all that sort of thing, self-harm, and also with work, that I can just disassociate. So I just did. It's like a survival mechanism. Anyway, he went down on my back, held down my sacral chakra. I don't know what this man did. And like, we might lose people with this as well because it was some woo-woo shit, but I like fell asleep. Like, I fell out of it. Anyway, I woke up. I don't think anything like happened to me. I could feel it. I was in and out of it. And I remember I woke up every now and then I could see him looking at me. Anyway, we left. The next day I woke up violently ill. Like, so freaking sick. So sick. And I was staying at a little homestay in Bali, and the man goes to me, you're dirty. You've got something on you. And I'm like, what? He goes, you've got an energy on you. You're dirty. And he kept saying I was dirty. And I was like, what the fuck? So I found this like medicine woman to come pick me up. we're in the car. She's like doing these ones to my forehead. She's like, I got to get it out of you. And I'm just sitting there like, what the hell? We pull over on the highway. I'm like throwing up. She's like, get it out of you. Get it out of you. It was insane, babe. Then we went up to the temples. We did the whole thing. And then I found another medicine woman. She's like, your sacral chakra is completely blocked, but you can fix it with your third eye. You've got a strong third eye. But that is, I actually have a photo. I have to send it to you of when I'm doing the thing. Please. And there's like this shadow comes out of me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not even kidding, but it fucked me up. Like I went back to the retreat after that for 5 days and I was like sleeping with crystals. I was like doing all sorts of shit to try, because he did something. It was crazy. And I feel like if I wasn't as switched on, that's how you kind of get people to go back. But it was a cult, babe.
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
I am so Devo that we have to end things. I'm like, oh my gosh. But everyone can follow Bianca on TikTok, where she tells these stories all of the time, hence why you can understand why I wanted her on so bad. I feel like normally I like wrap up with like a last like advice for your younger self, but I think let's stop it there, and I would love to do part 2 with you in the future.
I would love to do part
Is that okay?
2. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on So Blue Speaking.
Okay. Thank you for having me, babe.